Oh my god. Can't believe I'm actually doing this. This is a Square-1, and it was sent to me by Speakeasy Shop a few months ago, and I was like, what am I gonna do with this? So for those of you who don't follow competitions, you may not even know what this is because it's not a regular Rubik's Cube. So if you don't know how Square-1 works, you have to turn it like 180 degrees like that, and then it also shape shifts into different shapes. You have to try to get it back into a cube, and then of course get all the same colors on the same side, and then it's solved. Unlike with a 3x3 where it's really easy to watch where pieces go and do what you want with them, I feel like on a Square-1, it's a lot less intuitive how things work. First of all, because of the shape shifting. So the way it's done, normally how fast people do this is mostly algorithms. While even on 3x3, for the most part of the solve, it's not algorithms. So I thought it would be a fun challenge to solve this completely intuitively. When I say completely intuitively, I don't know if that's actually going to happen. What I mean is I'm gonna solve it without looking at a tutorial, because I expect at some point I'll probably have to make up algorithms, because I don't think moving around the pieces intuitively is gonna be that easy. Okay, let's get this scrambled. It's even kind of weird to scramble this because like you have to make sure that the top and bottom both have a full line through it when you turn. And there's only one way you can turn. It's just about how much you align the top and how much you align the bottom. All right, this looks scrambled enough to me. There's a nice distribution of white and yellow, and yeah, the shapes on the top and bottom are different. I guess that's scrambled. Okay, so the first thing I'll try to do is get this back into the shape of a cube. All right, I'm not sure if this is progress, but I managed to get a square on one side. So I definitely didn't do that intuitively. I just kept turning until a square just showed up. I don't think I can just get that randomly on both sides. I probably, let me just keep trying stuff. Okay, so I made a bit of progress. So I realized that this is what you get when you take a cube shape and do one slice on it to change its shape. All right, then I actually drew some shapes on a paper to figure out what exactly I'm trying to get to. Ignore the stuff at the top, it's some Simpsons paradox math stuff. If you take a cube shape and slice it, you get these two shapes, which is the one I just showed. The other way I found you can slice these two shapes afterwards that doesn't take you back into a cube is to give you these shapes, and I think this is what I'm looking for. Okay, so I managed to get the shape on top, but not on the bottom, but I just want to like actually show what this shape is like on the cube. So here, this is entirely cube shape except for these two. This is an edge and a corner in swapped positions. So if I can get this shape on the top and bottom, then I think I'll be good. Okay, I was just turning randomly. I think I got it. So here we have the almost cube shape except for these two pieces, and on the top, same thing, but with these two pieces. Okay, so I tried doing some slices on this one and I realized it wasn't right. Based on my diagram, how it has to be is based on my diagram. If you go look at edge and then corner, this goes clockwise. And then if you look at the other side as well, this one also goes clockwise. So I actually need a case where one of them goes clockwise and one of them goes counterclockwise, because that's more like what I have on the diagram. Okay, I turned for like 30 more seconds and it just showed up. If I look at edge then corner, this goes counterclockwise. And on the other side, edge then corner, this goes clockwise. And remember, I'm just talking about the two that are wrong, that are not part of the cube. From here, if I find the right way to slice, perfect. So I have this shape and this shape on top and bottom. I just need to line them up, and that makes a cube shape. All right, so it's not totally cube shape because we have this thing, but it's pretty easy to fix. For example, on 3x3, how you would twist the two middle edges to like flip over is R2, U2, R2, U2, R2, and that also moves some edges on top, but that's no problem. So here you can pretty much do the exact same thing, R2, U2, R2, U2, R2, and that makes it fully cube shape. But I don't think that's gonna be important because I could just do that at the end. Okay, so there's nothing really to do with the middle slice. The middle slice is basically just always gonna be solved. I think I need to get the white and yellow pieces onto their own sides. Okay, so I'll do some more like kind of random turning and see if I discover anything, okay? So if you hold it in a perfect cube shape and turn it, of course you get this thing that I talked about earlier, but if you move it over slightly, then you keep it as a cube shape. So I guess that's how I'm gonna be turning it. Okay, so I've got most of it. I have most of the yellow on the bottom as well. I think I might be able to just do this intuitively. If I take these bottom pieces and pair it up with the top pieces, maybe I can just move that all to the bottom. Who knows? Okay, to pair them up, it looks like I'm losing cube shape when I do that, so I can't do that. But then if I do it this way, then one of the edges goes away. Okay, so I ended up with this. Okay, so I just have one more edge piece to get down here. It seems like every time I get it all to the same side, it's not cube shape anymore. So clearly I'm not thinking in the right way here. Okay, so I had to turn the camera off because it's been like over an hour, but I figured out something. I figured out how I can probably just do a J-perm on the Square-1. So this is partially intuitive, partially I just tried things and it just worked. But I'm going to show you how you could have come up with something like this, because this is pretty much how I do new puzzles that I don't know how to do. So like the first time I solved a Pyraminx and Skewb, I used the exact same idea as what I'm doing here. I tried to find ways to break something up and then restore it and just see what it did to the rest of the puzzle. So here I drew out exactly what I had on the top and bottom. So then what I tried was, in order to keep cube shape, I had the top misaligned a bit. I moved all of these yellow pieces to the top, and this one doesn't count because it was already here. So what I'm trying to do is get all these yellow pieces back into the bottom, but a different way. And if I can do that, then hopefully it does something to some of the pieces, and I can take advantage of that and use that as a new algorithm. So what I did next was I wanted to take these two blocks, just move it to over here, and then slice back down. So I moved this away, and then moved this up again, and then I just tried some moves here. I just moved things around, and then now finally what you can do is put them all together here, and then move them all back down. And so at no point did I really break many blocks. I mean, I had half of an entire side. I just broke that into two halves, moved them around, and put them back down. And so what I discovered is that it does an end perm on the top. It just takes two blocks and swaps them. And then on the bottom, it does the same thing, but a J perm instead. So it's 2 blocks here, and swaps them. So this isn't the best algorithm because it does affect the top and bottom. So it's gonna be hard to use it in all situations. But I realized that I can probably use this algorithm only to do just a J-perm. So what I mean is just do something like this. And why something like this would be so useful? If I can do this, I can probably solve the whole cube. That's because it swaps 2 corners next to each other and 2 edges next to each other. So that means I have an edge swap and I have a corner swap. And so you know me, go watch that video. I can probably figure out how to do the rest of it if I know how to do a J-perm. So I have a theory on how I'm gonna turn that algorithm into just a J-perm, and then I can use it to solve the whole thing. Okay, so I'm probably gonna find a way to do that algorithm twice to make just a J-perm, because the end perm on top, if you do an end perm twice, it goes back to solved, and a J-perm on the bottom, if you do a J-perm twice, just the right way, it can make another J-perm. So just from experimenting on a 3x3, I think I've figured it out. If I just alternate D and then that algorithm and then D, algorithm D, it should give me a J-perm on the bottom. So what I'm going to do is use that algorithm to solve the rest of this. I need to get this yellow edge into the bottom. How I'll do that is I'll move the bottom here to the top, and so as you can see, this white edge came up with it. I don't want this one here, instead I want this yellow one right here. So if I can do the J-perm swapping these two and these two, then I will get the yellow edge here. So to do that, I need to do a J-perm on bottom, which means follow my algorithm. I'll turn it upside down, align the J-perm where I want it to go, and then, okay, let's do this. Oh, I didn't do the D first. So I'll turn it upside down, and let's see, misalign one of the layers. I don't think it matters which layer I misalign. Okay, and then I do D, and then the algorithm. I've already memorized the algorithm, by the way. Oh, I really hope this works. Okay, and then D again, the algorithm. And then, wow, okay, so I got all the stuff onto the correct sides, and white is already solved, but it's okay. So the idea of how I'm going to solve the rest is just with J-perms, and white already being solved just means I skip that step, and it doesn't make anything any easier. It just saves me some time. And now on the yellow side, I just have a T-perm, and really any PLL, it doesn't matter. What I'm going to do is solve all the corners using the J-perm, and then solve all the edges also using J-perms, of course. Although I just want to note one thing, which is that I know on Square-1 you can get parity, and that is when you get an impossible PLL on your last one. And so using J-perms only, you cannot solve impossible PLLs, which means if that were to have happened, I would have just scrambled up the whole cube and did the entire thing again. Luckily, that didn't happen, but I know that when you scramble up the cube and turn it back, there's a 50% chance you just don't get parity. Okay, so let's just solve the rest of it. I'm gonna swap these two corners. So that's gonna be, okay, I'm just gonna fast forward through this algorithm. All right, now I have all the corners solved, and to do a U-perm, all you have to do is take these 2 corners and swap them twice, but swap different pairs of edges each time. First, you would swap these 2 to solve the blue one, then you would swap these 2 to solve the rest of them. All right, so I've done the first swap, and as you can see, that leaves me with a J-perm on top, so I'm just gonna solve that. And this is not the same J-perm, this is the mirrored J-perm, so I'm gonna do everything with the other hand. Hopefully I don't mess that up. Okay, I thought I was gonna have solved it. Okay, take 2, J-perm on the bottom. Oh my god, please work. This is actually so much pressure right now. Okay, D prime, algorithm. D prime, algorithm. Okay, and then this last block needs to be twisted, which can be done with the R2U2 thing, so just repeat that. I can finally rest now. Guys, that was really painful, and this is where another YouTuber might say leave a like for that, but I want you guys to go and try something like this where it might be a lot easier on a Scube or a Pyraminx where you try to make up your own algorithm just by like taking something out and putting it back somewhere else, and then using that algorithm plus setup moves to end up solving the whole thing. So I'm really happy I was able to do it because like I knew that I had a game plan coming in to how to solve Square-1, but I didn't have the confidence that it was going to work because I don't even know how this puzzle works, but turns out it works exactly how I thought it would. Okay, and then one last tip is you can actually cheat making this whole algorithm figuring out process a little bit easier. If you just take the pieces apart and put it back in a solved position, you can see exactly what your algorithm does without all that brain work. All right, so 50% chance I never solve a Square-1 again.